Okay, nice done.
Great, quick thinking.
Yeah,
All right.
but so it talks about regular subdivisions. Everything is written for standard subdivisions, but we had changed to making the conservation subdivision the default and the traditional subdivision only if the conservation subdivision is not a good choice. So it doesn't make sense for me to write these whole regulations based on traditional subdivisions and then saying, well, in our zoning regulations, it describes how conservation subdivision works. I think you have to mention in the beginning that this is the default. And maybe talk about it more also in the subdivision regulations. Because if you come in as a developer, you read those subdivision regulations first, or as an engineer, and you start working with that, and then later you realize, oh, actually they don't want me to do a traditional subdivision.
So Joost, what are you recommending us to do?
Well, to read it and to come up with your own thoughts about it and compare to the old regulations. I have another meeting on the 16th, so I don't know yet which one I will attend. Otherwise, I'll just look at the recording of this. The other meeting doesn't get recorded. But I do want to attend and the next meeting, at least, that they talk about it. I suppose they're not going to talk about it all in one meeting. It's going to be several meetings, I imagine, because it's like 60 pages. It's quite a bit.
So let me just make sure that I'm understanding this correctly, that what you're seeing is the possibility for confusion because by removing conservation subdivisions from the subdivision regulations and putting conservation subdivisions in the regular regulations, they're creating the possibility of confusion because developers may go to the subdivision regulations not realizing that there's a clear preference in our town for conservation subdivisions, but that those regulations are not in the subdivision regulation.
Right.
So which you believe could be fixed, remedied by, at least making a reference early on in the subdivision regulations to the fact that there are conservation subdivision regulations in effect and making a reference to that before people start down the road of 66 pages.
Right, yeah. And then another thing, in the P&Z's last meeting, they talked briefly about the open space set-asides or in the conservation subdivisions. And they were discussing if the 40% open space, if that's the maximum or the minimum, and there are different opinions about that among them. For one thing, our rural district regulations were years ago changed to make it 50% open space. 40% was only put in the conservation subdivision regulations for the village district. Mm-hmm. So I think there's some confusion there, but that's the only thing that they talked about in the previous meeting. So we should have an opinion on that ourselves too. So something you may want to look into.
Is it that the commissioners were confused, or is the conservation subdivision in the rural district being changed from 50 to 40? Did you get an indication that they were?
Well, they're confused about the 1540 of the two different things. But also about, is this some say, well, this is the maximum we can ask. Others say, this is the minimum we should ask. And that all depends. So they're not clear about it. It has to be made clear how this works. I mean, if you require, as with the village district regulations, that there has to be a minimum of 40% open space, that means minimum 40% open space. The developer can make it 45%. But at the same time, the commission can't say, well, actually, we want 60% here. If you say in your regulations minimum of 40%, then you should be satisfied with 40%. So I think that's how it works. But that wasn't clear among the planning and zoning commissions.
This is a lot of writing.
Well, you can shorten it.
The minutes are gonna be fun next month.
They're already fun. Okay. All right. Do you remember, Jos, when those regulations are going to be discussed again? Not on the 16th, correct?
Which ones?
The conservation subdivisions.
Not on the 16th, no. At least it's not in the, I haven't seen the agenda for it. And they updated, I'll get back to it. There was an updated timetable. Here it is. Subdivision regulations, review draft regulations in March, and then public meeting in April. So they plan to do it really quick. I don't see it happening that quick. Oh, conservation development was also supposed to be reviewed in March, but I haven't seen anything about it yet or heard more about it.
Okay. All right. We'll keep watching it. Good points. Anyone else comments on what Jos has told us about the reg changes?
No, I'm just glad he's watching. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to 5C. Any update, Jean, on unit-based pricing, otherwise known as pay-as-you-throw?
There's just continued to be a lot of discussion, and I think I mentioned at the last meeting that this large grant that HRRA has applied for has pivoted into a unit-based pricing and composting or organics
Is
grant.
this thing, Jean, do you think we should leave on our agenda, or should we take it off the agenda or maybe even put it down in the updates as needed until such time as that grant comes through?
It's really up to you all. I think maybe you could probably just take it off until we hear something back from HRRA, and then obviously I'll be coming with lots of information and programming and education, hopefully.
So it seemed like Westport got the grant. Is that correct? It looked like they're doing like a info session tomorrow, maybe, or this week. And that Jen's doing.
I don't know. I know that they've been on the road a lot. They did a trash talk, I think, yesterday at KCS. So I don't know if that is specifically related to this grant.
No, it looked like it was this grant. It was talking about exactly this stuff.
But they're not part of HRRA, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
they're not
Yes, they are.
HRRA.
Yes, there.
No, they're not. Westport or West Sutton?
I'm looking now. It was something Jen was giving. I saw it pop up.
My guess it would be Weston because Westport's not a member of HRRA, but Weston is.
Sorry, Wilton. It's Wilton.
Oh, they have a whole, a very robust, sustainability organization there. And, I think that they're starting composting.
Yes.
No,
Food
if it,
scrap- Wilton Food Scrap Recycling Program.
yeah, I haven't heard that we've been awarded the EPA grant yet.
I wish that was on Zoom because I would have gone to that talk. It looked interesting.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping to get her up here to do a trash talk at some point.
We would love to partner with that so that
That would
it's
definitely
a
come.
joint effort.
Yeah, for sure.
Is Wilton doing UBP?
I don't know.
That's gonna be the real kicker.
Yeah, there are a pretty fair number of towns and bigger towns even than Wilton. Like I think Middletown is doing unit-based pricing. There was we had a full CCSMM meeting on Monday, I think it was. And there was a lot of discussion about unit-based pricing. There was a lot of great discussion, and there are a couple of really big towns that are doing those pilots around the state.
Okay, so Carol, though, just let's take that off the
Okay.
agenda. You'll
Got it.
hear that HRRA has the grant. Moving to 5D. 5D is the Housatonic Herbicide Working Group. And as you recall, Bruce Bennett came to our meeting last month asking for our support with their group's efforts. And then subsequently sent a bunch of information around so that we could take a look and get a better sense of exactly what it was that they were hopeful of doing. Thanks to Yost for starting us off in writing a proposed letter of support, which I made a few comments on and turned around. And I don't know that you've all had a chance to see it, or maybe that you have. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the letter?
Yes.
Yes.
I believe that it was our intent last meeting to be supportive of the HHWG. And Wendy, actually, that you were going to join that group as Kent's representative of it, which is terrific.
Well, nobody's invited me to do it, so I said at the time, but Bruce didn't take me up on it, so I figured that was the end of it.
Well, he welcomed you.
Yeah, I
But,
thought it
Well, I
was.
have to, well, what do? I go and
He
say,
might
I'm-
not have your email address, Wendy.
Oh, Bruce has
I-
right now. I correspond with him about lots of things. If you think that's appropriate, I just thought.
Well, he is away until March 18th.
Okay.
So he's been away for a month.
In any case, I didn't think there was any question that we would be sending a letter of support. The main difference between what Yost had written up and what I wrote up is that what I remember Bruce asking us for was our support as he went to try and negotiate with the railroad, and that they hadn't gotten to the point yet and hoped not to have to, although, I'm not sure, that was hope. But I don't know if he really believes that it will happen. But they hoped that the railroad would voluntarily adopt the same practices in Connecticut as it does in Massachusetts. And if they don't, if they aren't amenable to working with the group, then they'll try and take their efforts to legislation, which, as most of you know, can be, or all of you know, can be a really long process. So I think that he was really hoping to head that off.
Yeah. Well, I like this better the way he did it. I'd written it the other way, following Cornwall's example, because that was written by a member of the group.
Yeah.
So, but I like it better this way, actually.
So are you waiting
And-
for a motion
oh,
to accept
yeah.
your letter and get it into the process of being sent, or did you send it?
I did not send it. Yost, did you want to finish?
Also, the other one was directed to the Board of Selectmen, but the Board of Selectmen have been approached already, except that when I saw the Zoom recording of it, I saw the Board of Selectmen only saying yes to the legislative part, and they didn't actually say yes, push for adopting the Massachusetts regulations now. So I think, Dean, should that still happen or not?
We,
And
we,
are you sending a letter?
we made a
to-
motion to write a letter of support.
What?
We made a motion to write a letter of support.
Okay, so you are doing that?
Yeah.
Okay, and that will include pushing them to adopting the Massachusetts regulations.
Yes.
And then those spray zones, that wasn't mentioned either in the Cornwall letter, but I think that's a very important part of it.
Okay, so Melissa, do you want to make that motion?
Yeah, I just want to add that Inland Wetlands is also sending a letter of support, so it should, our records should reflect that. Is everyone done?
Yep.
I make a motion to send the letter as sent around in our email earlier today.
I second it.
All in favor, please raise your hand
All right.
and say aye.
Uh,
Any opposed? And hearing none, the motion carries. So I will send that off. Again, thanks to Yost for the nudge. Of course, they are looking for this support as early as possible because the railroad can start spraying as early as March 1st. I think the weather has given us a little bit of a break right now. They weren't out spraying last week, but
And
they're really
as I
better.
read it, the first spraying is only in their rail yards, not on the whole tracks. That comes later in the season. So we still have a while.
Still to give them the meat that they need to, the stack of letters that they need in order
Definitely.
to be persuasive in
Yeah.
their negotiating.
And it really shouldn't be too hard for them because they're doing the same thing in Massachusetts. So
Well,
I just have a quick question. So once we send the letter, do I then put it on the agenda again for next month or do we just like send the letter and that's it?
I think we should leave it on the agenda if Wendy actually makes contact with Bruce and joins that group. She might have an
I'll
update.
send an email tomorrow. Yeah. Okay.
how about just put it on Carolyn
Update.
and
Yeah.
update as necessary?
Excellent.
Okay, there
Okay.
may be nothing or there may be more, but I know that we'd be interested in knowing whether or not our support helped at all and what's going on as the spring continues. So let's leave it on with the understanding that there might not be that much to discuss in April. Okay. And we are at 5E, which is the land acquisition fund. So, again, slowly but surely, I think I mentioned at our last meeting that I was going to attend the Board of Selectmen meeting to brief the selectmen in the history of what our town has done towards a land acquisition fund and the different committees and reports that had been made to select boards passed. And so I did that. There were no questions. I distributed those reports to the selectmen, so they have the reports that were provided in both 2007, I think, and 2011.
12 or 13.
And there, well, it's 11 and 12. Like, I think the date on the report is March 12th, but there is evidence that it was presented earlier. And that it all went down in connection with the POC that was being revised at that time. Anyway, the next chapter is laying the groundwork with the Board of Selectmen to show them that many other towns in the state of Connecticut have adopted ordinances, or have laws, let's say, on their books establishing land acquisition funds, and have used them to acquire land on behalf of the town. So I will present at the select board meeting a list of different towns that have these kinds of mechanisms. We have all of that information from years past, with the first couple of committees working on this, as well as more updated information that Wendy compiled last year. So the presentation will be, here's a list of towns that have these things. In the meantime, I also reached out to Robert Phillips at the Northwest Hills Council of Governments to see if he might be able to recommend a contractor who could prepare a report similar to what the town of Colchester did in terms of a what is it called? A cost of community services, and there was another. They did cost of community services, build out, which we've done already, and there was a third thing, and I'm forgetting the name for it right now. Anyway, he had several recommendations, and I'll make outreach to see if we can procure that kind of a study, which I think will be helpful in making our case to both the Board of Selectmen, but also ultimately to the Board of Finance. Sound good?
Great.
Mhm. So do we need to prepare anything in the meanwhile? Do we need to?
I don't think so. We have
no.
your draft ordinance.
Yeah.
We have all the data. I mean, to me, the hardest, the mountain we have to climb is convincing everyone else. Okay, we good?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Great.
Okay. So updates as needed. We have Green Energy Task Force. Is there anything, Wendy?
Anything on the Energy Task Force, you say?
Yes.
I discovered another program that's running different from PACE. It does a different thing. It's called Smart Buildings, and it's a professor and her team at UConn, and they do all of this survey of efficiency for all the municipal buildings in town, even buildings that are kind of hybrid municipal. And so I was able to, through Bernie at PACE, I was able to get to this professor, and she immediately put me at the top of the list. And we have a study going on right now. We'll have a report in another week or so. And it'll just tell each of these buildings how they are doing compared to other libraries in similar small towns in terms of heat, water usage, electricity, but they're going to do it with every building. It's very interesting process. And when I heard about it, I thought it was just too good to be true, but I called Bernie and he said, no, it is just as good as you think. It was a program developed by the EPA with software, but it turned out that none of the towns could make the software work properly. So this professor said, I'm going to have my students do it. And they've already done 70 towns in Connecticut. So we're we're in line for that. We should have it surprisingly soon.
What was this called?
It's
Smart-
called Smart Buildings. And it's at UConn.
So Wendy, they're not just doing municipal buildings, they do other buildings, like
They
they
will
do.
do, yeah,
library?
if you had a factory, they'd do it, but they've done it primarily for municipal buildings, as far as I know.
So in Kent, they're gonna do you know what buildings they're gonna compare?
They're gonna compare all the obvious ones, the firehouse in three different buildings. They're gonna do the library, the town hall, the Senate, the sewage treatment plant. They're gonna do various street lighting, because they all have separate accounts. They're gonna do Kent Center School again, but this will be different. This is not the sealing up the cracks in the walls kind of thing. It's just to say, you've reached a score of 75 out of 100. So you get some kind of energy benefits from that, and you get a free audit. So I don't think our town hall has been audited, but now it's free. Once we have this other report. And but I was called down to the fire department executive meeting last night because somebody got the paranoid idea that somehow I had caused their accounts with Eversource to be hacked. And when I really questioned them on it, it turned out that this hacking had happened in 2017. And I don't know why they just discovered it, but they're very protective of their status as an independent organization. So I had to calm them down. But anyway, they ended up saying,
It actually happened at town hall. I guess, I don't even know what the parameters are, but a company or I don't know if a private citizen can, but there was a company that asked to access the town's Eversource accounts. And we were notified. That was a big surprise to us, obviously. And from what I hear, it happened with the fire department as well. We have since changed that with Eversource, but yeah, it was very strange.
yeah.
But couldn't that have been an organization like CPACE?
Well, I thought, if the dates had been different, I said it's probably the Green Bank because we're
Right.
resubmitting your request for solar.
Right, that's who we thought it was too.
But the dates were wrong. So I said, but in any case, there's no harm in it. So, but it turned out it had nothing to do with the Green Bank.
Right.
And I had a good laugh.
Okay, well, the report sounds promising. That seems like it'll
Yeah,
be interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Anything else?
Well, Connie, can I add? I called up Northwest Cog this morning because a sort of light bulb went off in my head yesterday after I was at the firemen's meeting, and I'd been talking to other groups and trying to get things moving with this energy thing, which is making me crazy. And I said, so I called up West Cog and I said, if you could get the funding to have an energy czar for the entire West Cog, all the towns, I said, we would save so much money and so much grief because there would be one person who was trained to be an expert. I'm never going to be an expert. And I said, this would really move us ahead in a way that has not been imagined. So she got all excited about it. I think her name is, something with an E. I don't know. Emily, I guess. She thought it had real possibility. She said, there's some grants out there. I said, well, we could be a leader in this if we could get somebody on who did nothing but help towns capture all the good energy opportunities that are out there. because there's so much low fruit hanging around that just is going unnoticed. And
Yeah. That's a
you know,
great idea, Wendy.
as a volunteer, it's just, none of us can give the kind of time to do this.
Yeah,
So-
there is so much. It is overwhelming how much I get postcards all the time. We get cold calls from you name it that has the word energy in it, and we get them.
Yeah.
And chasing everyone down and doing the research and then it's just one town doing it.
Yeah.
And wouldn't it make much more sense if we could have 21 towns doing it, or even 5 towns doing it?
Well, if you had one person who was guiding volunteer committees, I mean, bigger town, Westport, I think, has a staff person. Hartford obviously has them. There are lots of these people in jobs already, but it's the small towns that are taking it on the chin, because so much of our work is done by volunteers, and everything falls through the cracks. So I'm going to get in touch with Maria Horn also and say, here's a place, if you could fund it as a test run, if Northwest COG could show that they really could change the game, wouldn't that be terrific?
Mm.
So
It must be done as a loan with the assumption that towns would save money.
Right.
They were able to take these steps, right? So there's a much stronger interest for a town to do this than there is for the COG to do it. But if the COG could provide a loan to a town in order to, or if the COG, or maybe actually the towns provide the loan to the COG in order to apply for the person, then
well,
it
she says that there are a couple of energy bills right out there now where they could apply for it.
Yeah. And it's similar to we have a regional mental health, behavioral health navigator that is funded by a grant. And they're helping all the towns at whatever level they need with the all of the stuff happening with opioid overdoses. They're providing assistance. That person is providing assistance through a grant. And that would be, it would be the sort of this of similar thing.
Another example of this is on my list of usage of electricity in Kent. I have an account for Main Street lighting, for the monument lighting, for the tourist center lighting. We could check with several other towns and make good purchases of different kind of lighting for street lighting. And just, you get a better deal, you get a multiple purchase. There's just, the opportunities for expansion this way seem to me worth exploring. So that's what I've done.
Okay, great. Thank you. 5G is sustainable CT. Any update? And again, this is just, this is in our updates as needed section. So if there isn't anything, it's okay. We have a lot to talk about with our spring events if we hope that we will have any spring events. So I would on at least a half an hour more of this meeting, if not longer. So
I have no update on sustainable CT. How's that?
Okay. All right. Great. Well, so now let's move into the section of our agenda that is about our spring events. And I may need to click into these, but Carol was so helpful as to lay out for us when different things are occurring, like spring holidays, Earth Day, Arbor Day, and the spring break for our public schools. As you all know, we traditionally do 3 different events in spring, all usually during April. One being the town cleanup that Liddy has done so effectively for many years, but will not be doing again this year. The library program, and I see concern on your face, Carol, and it is a promise that we made to Liddy. that she didn't have to do it again this year. So she's not. We're not going to lean on her for that. But we need to find somebody else to do it. The library program, which is a children's program that we usually put on. And then, of course, our Arbor Day activity with the school and the garden club, where we typically plant a tree, not always on the KCS campus anymore. So which one should we talk about first? What seems easiest?
Well, I could talk about mine, pretty easy. So the library program is going on. We are scheduled for Thursday, April 13th at 10:30 at the library. Our topic is going to be getting electricity from the sun. The actual title that day is Our Wonderful Sun, Solar Energy. Oh, Solar Energy Explained. We're going ahead. I will have a hands-on component. I'm working out details of the children building little circuits with solar panels. It'll have the usual read aloud. I've been able to arrange to borrow a sample solar panel, a mini one, but one that we can bring in so the kids can look a little bit more up close at it. All the kids will go home with a coloring book all about solar energy. I'm going to do the usual display board to talk about some of the other points. On the display board, I'm taking photographs of every solar installation that's really easily seen in Kent. So that'll be up there. We can point out the different ones. So I'm pretty excited about it. What's interesting with the books, we always like to buy accompany books. And I just have to bore you with one that I fell in love with. You're not going to believe this book. This is called Baby Loves Green Energy. And it's a board book at that age level already starting to talk about. So we've already purchased this one for the library. We'll be gifting that to them. And then I researched and found what I thought was the best sort of nonfiction recent solar energy book, sort of targeting grade 3 and 4. This one is called Solar Power Alternative Energy, but I bought them the hard copy version. I bought myself a soft version. So we are going ahead. My request is, one of the things I would like to do is just do a little show and tell with them of some of the cute little things, whether they're toys or gadgets, that people use little tiny solar panels for. I know there's one where someone has a hat and that works with a solar panel. There's solar calculator. I have a solar calculator, but if you have anything that you own that I can borrow just to kind of demonstrate, that would be really helpful. And so let me know. I know there used to be a lot of that kind of stuff around. I don't know what happened to it.
I think I have a solar radio.
You're going to bring that, right?
I have to check. It's in the closet somewhere.
Okay, all right.
I
And
have
then
a
the other
solar-
thing is, because
I
we're
have a
building,
solar thing. I have a solar phone charger,
perfect.
A battery charger too. Yeah.
and it
Okay.
has a flashlight on it too.
Perfect. Just for demonstration. And then because the kids are going to be working in groups of 2 and building circuits, I'll need extra hands. So if everyone can be there that day, we'll have a lot of fun. We'll deal with some of the vocabulary, et cetera, et cetera. So we are pretty well set.
That's great. I had no idea you were doing all of this. That's amazing.
Well, it's really under a bigger topic. It's really about climate change and what can we do to limit climate change, and really kind of exploring green energy of all different kinds and this and that. But with this age group, you pick one thing and you focus on that, and it's a start. So I
Right.
just thought it was kind of timely to really do it. And the other thing that's really happening is that the technology of the solar panels are getting more and more efficient, so that it's becoming more plausible and efficient to think about having it here in Kent and in the Northeast. So we're kind of right on target with exploring it.
Carol, you could put on a display. I get day by day, minute by minute information on how much sun my solar array is collecting, and you could show it as the cloud goes across it and then you see something dip.
Wendy, if you would be there, I would love for you to just do that.
I don't have a choice. You've already got me doing something else in that program. Yeah.
Yeah, but well, we'll talk about what could go on the board that you need to talk to. You know, you don't just talk to children this age. You have to really point and involve them.
Okay.
I know last time, Wendy, I think with the bees, I had you holding up the vocabulary words. We'll play. If everyone will come, it'll be a good day. So,
Great, thank you. And the library's taking care of the promotion, is that right?
yes, yes,
Okay.
they are. They're going to
Oh.
do the flyer. They're going to do the blurb.
As
I mean,
soon as you get that though, it would be good for you to send it to me to just so that I can post it also on our page.
Yeah, they're not quite. We just went over the blurb. They're not
Okay.
quite ready, but
That's
Yeah,
fine. Just kick
we'll do
it
that.
over to me when you can so that I get get
sure.
it up there.
And when you all have I know that you're going through a lot of different events and activities, but if somebody can just send me everything, I'll put it into a newsletter.
Yeah, I can do that once I get all of them for putting it up on social.
Yeah, we
Great.
really need to advertise it because it's, we can't just leave it to the library. We have to take it on.
Great, okay. Arbor Day,
So we decided on planting a scarlet oak. And that would be on Elizabeth Street, at the corner of Elizabeth Street and Bridge Street in front of Frontier. Bruce Bennett was going to talk Frontier, get their permission, but he went on vacation for a month. So, but when he comes back, he'll work on that. And he was also going to locate a tree. And then we hope we can plant it with the kids on Arbor Day. I also asked Chris Rose if maybe we could get some kids to help with planting the 3 summer sweet shrubs for the playground or the outdoor classroom. I'll help with that, and if some kids will help them, we plant 3 of those shrubs, possibly the same day, or otherwise leave it up to them. But so if we could get shrubs by that time, so for the rest, we still have to finalize things, but it's in process.
So what's the date on that? I didn't.
April the 28th.
So
On
it's actually on Arbor Day. Okay.
Also a Friday.
Okay.
I think 2 o'clock usually. So we usually start digging the hole on Thursday after school time. And then Friday they come out during the afternoon. The kids will all come out and they'll throw a shovel of soil in, and Chris Rose, the science teacher, will talk about what a scarlet oak is and how important it is. And then we go from there.
that's great. Good. Any more on Arbor Day? Any tie-ins this year? Okay. Okay. So town cleanup. The real trick here is that I don't think that we have anyone who is volunteering to come on in and take this over from Liddy. And I do feel like I could do some of it and not all of it. And I was wondering if this is a way to entice somebody new to start to get involved with our commission. But I don't know who that somebody might be. And I think that one of the reasons that Liddy was so good at this is that over time she developed great relationships with the people who who acted as kind of the road champions and got their neighbors out or did a whole lot themselves. Liddy really she took care of her customers that way, and people were happy to come in and do it again. So my sense is that it would be great to have somebody who knows people in town, or if they don't know them, wants to get to know lots of people in
I think
town.
we could tap somebody in the garden club. Just a natural. They're
Somebody
not all elderly. What?
Does somebody in the garden club come to mind?
No, but I don't have a list here, but I'm sure with a little thought, we could come up with something. Or somebody in the Chamber of Commerce could take it over.
That's also pretty small, the chamber.
Not as small as we are.
Maybe they are.
So can we maybe define what exactly we're actually looking for? Because I feel like the job might not be necessarily as laborious as we're thinking. And I think that, we need to order bags, we need to order gloves, and we need to send out a couple of emails. But I think that the pickup of the gloves, the pickup of the bags could be streamlined with some thought put to it. I'm not sure. I think that Liddy set up a really great roadmap to some volunteers, and it's, not as big a lift here.
Well, I mean,
Because
that's
she
not
said it-
what you
because she
described
set up-
already is not nothing.
No, it's
Uh,
not nothing, but I do think that there's some things that have been set in place that make it a little bit, we need to maybe do it once within this commission before we really know what we're talking about.
So I believe that, so I'm listening. Order bags, order gloves, send emails to volunteers.
I have
Lydia-
the flyer poster thing, so I usually update the dates on it and I do the publicity. And then we send it to Darlene. Darlene takes all the phone calls that come from the public if there's new people interested. So it's looking at a map and telling new people, where there is roads to clean.
What about the Cub Scouts and the South Kent School?
That's, so
The
yeah,
Cub
well,
Scouts,
wait, hold on, because we're getting ahead of ourselves, because
Yeah.
there definitely is all of that. So Darlene takes phone calls, but then Liddy would call them back with the map.
Yes,
Right.
usually
There's
Darlene.
phone calls involved too. I mean,
Usually Darlene would send me 1 to 2 people, and she would send it to Liddy and myself, and then we would. Lynn has her hand up. Lynn, please just ask.
Lynn, you're on mute.
Trying to be good, trying to observe the rules. So I was one of the people that she would contact for South Kent School, and she actually delivered stuff to us, just so you're aware. She would deliver the supplies to South Kent School.
yeah, she delivered to everyone.
Right, and I'm just saying that maybe the delivery part of this could be handled in a different way, whether there's one Saturday that there's a table and you pick it up like Bridgewater does with Jennifer Heaton Jones, or you pick it up at the town clerk's office or the lobby of town hall. Like, there is a way to get the bags and the gloves to various people. That does not mean someone driving all over town doing that. And loved that Liddy delivered to me, but I don't know that it is super necessary.
And I also think there may be some streamlining as far as the back and forth phone calls. If the maps were on the Conservation Commission website and plop in a couple of QR codes into the flyers, and I think there's a way to do this with, and I applaud Liddy for all the the touch points that she had, but I think there is a way to maybe streamline it a little bit, and have the same endpoint.
And
Most
I'd be,
people have been cleaning the same roads for so long that I don't even think
Right.
that it was maybe 1 to 2 families that were new to town who would contact through the phone number to the town clerk's office. I would get an email, so would Liddy, and then she would contact those couple people. I don't think there's a ton of people wanting to get involved new, but we also clean so many of the roads already, so I'm not sure that we need to be cheerleading to get more people involved at this point.
I will also put a plug in that she always delivered, I think it was 3 or 4 sheet cakes to South
Mhm.
Ken- as a big thank you for the 12+ miles that are cleaned by this
And
student.
she picked up a cake for from Costco for the Cubs, the Boy Scouts and the Cub Scouts, and Marv Wood got a cake also. Or 2 cakes,
And
I
we
think.
all coordinated a celebration at the transfer station at the end of it all that had coffee and food and, you know, basically thanking people.
That was taken care of by Wendy because there's donuts in her freezer still.
not anymore.
Love you,
I-
Wendy.
I still think it sounds like a lot, and to me, this is why I didn't want to do it alone. I'm willing to do some. I cannot do this all. I just know it. There's no way.
So
that
I'm
I'll
to
mess
help.
it up. I can't do it all.
I'm happy to help.
And,
We
and Connie, I think I'm still willing to do everything that I've already always done. So I don't think that, I think we can handle this. I'm not sure that,
Okay.
I don't
So
have a Costco
this-
membership, so
this
I'm not
is-
offering to go to Costco, but if someone else has a Costco
I can
membership,
do the
I don't have
Costco.
it. Yeah, I don't belong to
so
Costco.
Wendy can do the Costco thing, I guess. Wendy, you do Costco?
Yes.
I didn't know.
Well, I guess there's just one of me, I know, but I eat a lot. No, I call neighbors and say, hey, I'm going to Costco. What do you need?
Okay, so you can pick up the cakes and order the cakes and all that.
Right.
There you go. See, we're piecing it out and we will make it all work. And then we will have a better idea of what a future volunteer needs to do, but we will also recruit them in January, not a month before it has to happen.
So
Yeah,
do we
when-
need, what
When
about
do
the
those
dates on
cakes have to
this?
be done?
We have to pick the dates first, Wendy.
Yeah, we have to-
Right.
So
Lynn,
let me,
do you have a sense of when South Kent School will do its Earth Day cleaning?
I don't, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I would always rely on a nudge from Liddy to
yeah,
say,
I'm pulling up the poster because it's like 2 weeks that we give it. Sorry, Canva's taking a long time to load. I might have
Or
to write.
the 20.
I might be easier to just go onto our Facebook and find it.
Well, so if spring break is April 7th to 14th and Earth Day is April 22nd, there is a gap this year.
Right. So I had assumed that the scouts would probably do April 21st as their cleanup, because we usually try to do it on a Friday. And it's totally different this year because you're right, the break doesn't quite work.
Right, right.
So if we're saying we're probably saying the week of April 17th to, well, are we doing the transfer station?
Yes.
And that will be on Earth Day itself?
I
April
don't know,
22nd?
because the Kent Land Trust will probably have a stewardship work group activity.
Yeah, so I would suggest that we do the 23rd, do it on the Sunday. Save the Earth Day for the KLT thing. And then go backwards 2 weeks, so we do April 9th to 23rd for town cleanup.
That's a long time, but
We
that's good.
usually do that. I mean, sometimes we've made it 1 week but people do it longer. The other thing we have to think about to add to your list is the A-frame things that are down. You should check while you're there to see if they're down in town hall basement, and that we need to get those out.
I think there are also some at the community house.
Well, we own 2, if I remember correctly, and 2 to 3 sets of signs, various signs.
I'll check. I'm not gonna do that tonight because I don't want to go down there.
No, don't.
Eric?
But I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yeah, Murphy's Law would.
soon.
If someone texts me tomorrow, I can run downstairs and do it.
I'm wondering if I like the idea of starting as early as the 9th. I think that the 23rd is quite late for this cleanup because things start to grow. So that would be my only concern. I know it doesn't really match with Earth Day, but I also have heard year on year, from people who are the volunteers who just said, I know you're doing this, in the middle of April, but we couldn't wait. The grass started to grow and the stuff became less visible. And so we actually picked it up in March. So I throw that out there as, just as a discussion, an interesting thing to just consider if we want to do, instead, just do it 1 week, the 9th through the 16th or the 9th through the 17th, so that we encourage people to get it done before it gets too warm and overgrown.
I actually
then-
noticed that the state has already done from the New York state line to the monument on 341. I think it was last week I noticed it. Last Monday they did it. So I thought that was kind of cool that it already had been done because we've tried to keep track of that in past years. There were tons of bags on the side of the road.
So even if we're just doing it 1 week, still the South Kent School and the Cub Scouts could do it whenever you want. It doesn't have to be within that week. I mean,
Yeah, the only
if it's
problem
your
with that,
schedule.
right? The only problem with that is the picture that we try to take at the transfer station, having not full pile of garbage. It doesn't matter, but I think I'll have a hard time getting scouts to do the 14th, the last day of their break. I just feel like that's probably asking for no scout to show up if we do it the last day of their spring break.
Could they do it the Friday before their spring break?
The 7th, which we have done in the past, the first day, but I've had mixed reviews, whether they'd like that. So yeah, I can write that down as a possibility for sure.
Okay. Yeah. I think that we should do a lot of communicating on email. I would just call to your attention that we probably shouldn't discuss on email. So let's see what we can get done with information sharing and not discussing.
What are the tentative dates that we're looking at this point? Where are we leaving it?
Somewhere in the window between April 7th and April 23rd.
Oh, that's a very big window. Okay, we didn't narrow it down. Okay.
I'm trying right now. Hold on.
Our meeting is the night of the 19th this year.
And what were you thinking about for the transfer station get together?
At the end, whenever. As long as
Well,
it,
but you could do the town cleanup from the 9th to the 7th to the 16th or whatever, and then do the following Sunday to give people time to bring it all to the transfer station. And then it would be an Earth Day after celebration.
So just do it on the 23rd, but encourage people to do it sooner.
Yeah. I mean, it would be great if Wendy only had to go to Costco once for cakes, but I don't think that Liddy has ever managed to make that happen.
And we do not need cake at the transfer station. Sometimes we've had leftovers, but the cakes are Scouts and South Kent
Right.
School.
Right.
So do we know the tally of the cakes now? We have Boy Scouts and one for Marblewood and
I think it's 2 for Marvelwood. I think it's been 4 for South Kent School and it's been 1 for the Scouts, but we can't order them until we have dates to,
oh. And I'm sure they were decorated with something that suggested,
the logo of the earth. It's the poster picture and I have a picture of it that I can send
Okay.
from past cakes.
Didn't she buy cakes once from Big Y? Was it always Costco?
Costco has the cheapest
Big-
cakes.
yeah. It's
They're
the
also really good. They've been
They're
fine.
delicious.
They do a nice job with that logo.
Yep.
Okay, so meantime, though, I will email and get Liddy's lists of people. Because I think that is like one of the first things is queuing up that email that goes out to entreat people to do it again. And I'll ask Liddy what's her normal order of bags and gloves, and we'll repeat that.
Remember
Sound-
last year we stopped doing the green bags. We're only doing the black bags now.
Right.
I'll contact Marvelwood and get the Scouts all situated too.
Wasn't there something last year also about a special request of different kind of gloves?
Yes, Lynn and I both thought that the 2 years ago gloves were way
Okay,
too
but
small.
whatever last year's were fine.
Yes,
Perfect.
correct.
So it almost seems like the publicity on it is not getting the people on the roads to do what they usually do. It's more to let people know what we've done for the town, what the town has done. So it's almost sort of after the fact of everything that's been done.
There's both. There's
Yeah.
both. So that there's always the pre.
Yeah.
And then there's always the thanks after.
Yeah.
But it's the pre also includes road safety, mindful of people out there collecting. I usually get a heads up from Lynn that there's kids going out so that I can post on social. Like there is a little bit of networking that happens to keep people safe.
Plus, in the end, even if people don't do it with us or tell us that they did it, if they're motivated because they saw it was happening to go outside and pick up the street outside their house, then that's still a win. So, we want to make sure that we publicize it well, before it's going on, because we're really hopeful that people will just do it.
Hey, Connie, I had a thought when you just said that, because it may be people may be doing things on their own. What if the commission came up with a hashtag for for people to post on social media and use the hashtag, and then they can all, all of those things will be connected, whether they're doing it, 3 weeks before or the day after or the day before or whatever.
I mean, I
It
think
would be a fun way to
it's,
get some buzz out.
I would say we don't need to overthink that part. Like, we want people to know, we want people to see our promo, and we don't, we would love to be able to take a picture of a big pile of garbage, but if somebody has, roadside pickup and they picked up their road and they put the trash bag in their own trash, I don't want to make people detour to the transfer station so that they can just add to our garbage. I think that's the secondary thing. So
Sure.
primary thing is making sure people know we care, we're cleaning up Kent, you can do this too, you should, you know, and if people want to share with a hashtag or want to be part, you know, so that hopefully that we know that it's happening. I mean, we do want to know that we've cleaned as many roads as possible, and Liddy was great at getting, you know, 95%. She got almost complete coverage of the town, so we want that. So if we have a fun hashtag and people want to engage with that, that's great.
So in 2021, we did 2 weeks. We did April 11th to the 25th. Just looking quick at our social. In 2020, that picture didn't show up. Hold on. In 2019, we did April 12th to the 27th. So it seems like we went for 2 weeks and we
Okay.
didn't really, you know, we let people figure it out.
So let's do the 9th to the 23rd then. And if the scouts can do the 7th, then we'll do it from the 7th to the 23rd and the scouts can kick it off.
Yeah, it's always good to have one group thing kick it off because then you get some good pictures. Yeah, it looks like pretty much we've done a Sunday as our party at the transfer station right at the end. Our fun picture of pile of trash. So someone does have to contact the chamber once we figure this out because they pay for the bags and the gloves.
And what about the holding of the trash at the transfer station?
The
We need
truth
to-
is we probably can pay for the bags and the gloves out of our budget. Easy enough.
I'll get in touch with the chamber if they want to participate. I mean, it is a nice thing for,
Yeah, I just need to know which logos and whatnot to put on. And again, I don't have a problem putting their logo on, even if they didn't. But I just need then I can get the poster done tomorrow.
tomorrow.
I mean,
I don't know if I'm in the chamber tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just saying that's pretty much all I need to know.
Okay. All right. I think we've made some progress.
I think so.
I was asking, do we have to communicate? Do we have to communicate with the transfer station about, you know, piling the trash up for us, or, I mean, whatever
I can ask Rick when I go there this weekend.
yeah,
I usually, I
just talk about the whole thing with him, so.
yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think we did like just Dunkin' Donuts and coffee was easy enough for the transfer station.
yeah. Okay.
So
I'm
I just need to know the date that we're gonna be at the transfer station. That would be the 23rd.
Let's do it on the 23rd.
Okay,
Okay, and we usually just do the morning. We
Yeah.
do like a 10 to 12, a 9 to 12, something like that.
Yeah, not a full day commitment. Yes.
so I want to check for understanding. The dates that we're all physically gonna be together, we have the, let's just see.
Library program.
The
Arbor-
library program on the Thursday, the 13th. Our meeting on the 19th. The Arbor Day celebration on the 28th. I skipped ahead. The 23rd at the transfer station, and being with Yos for Arbor Day on the 28th.
Yes.
All right. So we have one more agenda item, which is, well, we have a couple more, but we
We
have
should
one more.
definitely, just before you go ahead, we should definitely make it April 7th to 23rd. No one's starting this on Easter Sunday. The 9th would have been Easter Sunday.
Oh, no. forget that.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, it should either be the 10th to the 23rd or the 7th. And I think the 7th is
Yeah.
good. If we can get the scouts, I think that makes a nice kickoff.
Yep, I agree.
Okay. So 6B, which is the legislative watch list, the list grows. There is a environment committee hearing on Friday, the 10th. The agenda, I took a look at it, is, as far as I can see, all new bills. Some of the ones that I flagged include, where am I? So there is Senate Bill 1146, which is called an act concerning revisions to various programs of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. This is kind of it's a whole stew of different provisions, including provisions that impact the open space program. But I flagged it for us because they've got a provision in there relieving DEEP of its obligation to monitor the stations, the air stations for Cricket Valley. So it's basically closing out that program, closing out DEEP's partnership with Western Clean Air Action. So I figured that was like pretty perfunctory, but I just wanted to let you know that it's there, and that's Friday.
Connie, for what it's worth, two others have taken over what's left of WCCAA, and they are trying to, two members of our committee, they want to go back and raise the issue in the legislature and get more funding and so on. I'm no longer involved in that because I thought we did what we set out to do, but it hasn't died.
Well, those, if you feel like tipping those people off in case they don't know, because it does seem like DEEP also believes that its job is over.
Well,
With
they're
respect.
talking to DEEP. No, I want to keep as far away as I can from it because
Okay.
So,
That's one bill that's on for Friday.
so can I just ask a question? Does the commission feel that that's fine, or I don't,
Based
we
on
never really see data from
Based on
the,
what Western Clean Air Action, the group, has presented to us over time, I would say that we are aligned with what Wendy said, that that those monitors did what they were supposed to do. They did gather baseline information. We did engage DEEP in interpreting the data and in caring about the data. I think
we engaged more importantly, we engaged the University of Connecticut at the end in reading over all the data. The real problem for us was we'll never know because they only ran at 25% of capacity
right.
ever, and it made measuring but thankfully no toxins were found close by the buildings either. So it's I think worrying about air quality is going to become a bigger issue in the state, and I don't think we need to be uniquely concerned about it anymore.
Well, I heard recently, I don't know, in the last 3 months, that there's another facility that's going in over in the area.
We
Well,
talked
there-
about that here a little bit.
Yeah, I was reading in the Sierra Club newsletter they were talking about that they're opposing, what, I forget what they call it, but it is to put more power behind the pumping of the gas so they can get a higher volume going through the pipes and get it the full distance.
Right.
There will also be a station like that added in Brookfield, and so one also then in Dover. And
I think
it's
the bigger problem really is the escape of methane along that whole pipeline, and
yeah,
that was
and
never
that
something we went to measure.
that can also leak methane. That new station that they're adding.
Yeah.
So this leads me back to the question of, is that something that the commission should not oppose, that they discontinue those monitors?
The
No.
monitors are out of service really now. They are only good for a year before they have to be recalibrated.
Oh,
And they really, the technology was really not ready for prime time, it seemed, to
Oh.
some extent.
Yes, we
But,
have no
we'd
reason.
have to have a big expenditure all over again.
There's
okay,
no reason to oppose that bill.
okay. Thanks.
And then two others that well, one other really for the Conservation Commission that I wanted to just alert you to, House Bill 6814, which is a bill that seems like it is attempting to create a coding system for recyclable and compostable products. So it is along, the lines of an extended producer responsibility type statute where the producers of products would be mandated to code them with different symbols and colors based on what it is and whether or not it can be recycled. And the intent of the law is to make something that is, I guess, somewhat universal. In Connecticut, when I read the text, it seemed to me like it could potentially only complicate matters because there is kind of like a universal system out there, but this is not it. This is something new. So we'll see where it goes. Seems confusing to me. I love it when I get a product that has those black and white, the recyclable triangle on the back with words and pictures to tell you how to recycle what it is that you've got. Anyway, long list of bills. Many more
Yeah.
that I did not tell you about.
And Wendy got her balloon bill in there. You've been agitating against balloons for
Yes.
years. Right?
Yes.
For my lives.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Wait, hold on.
Come on, Connie.
Second, number 6 on the agenda for no apparent reason is correspondence. And then number 7 is adjourning, and Melissa has made the motion. And does someone want a second?
I'll second that.
Carol, a second. All in favor, please raise your hand and say aye, and the meeting will adjourn at